The scene opens tonight. It's, the smell of warm summer rain is in the air again tonight. There's a little bit of drizzle coming down. It's actually quite refreshing. It doesn't sting the nostrils with cold as it does in the winter or in the fall. Stefan has gotten things together with a lot more haste this evening. Something, and he has this feeling like he's going to have something to address before his work shift. He grabs what he needs, dressed in his usual business casual, makes the best attire for his job. Grabs his cell phone, wallet keys, and his usual Leatherman multi-tool, because you never know when one will need it. And heads out the door, locking it behind him as usual. Walks down from the metal stoop outside of his apartment door, down the metal steps, around the front of the diner he lives above, and grabs a copy of the paper, as per usual, and begins walking, flipping open his phone, calling a cab. He walks in the direction of work for a little bit, about 5 minutes. The dispatcher tells him it'll be about 10 minutes. He's going to be waiting for the cab about a block away from where he lives. Folds his phone back, folds the paper, places it under one arm, and waits for the cab.
Axel's been, he's been thinking a lot. Big reason, outside of a conversation that ended not more than a few minutes ago with Howard, makes him reflect things he's done. So you have to understand, Axel's not one to relish in bloodshed. At least he's didn't think so. It's actually a point of pride when an earlier encounter with the assistance of Mutt ended up ending with a lot of blood, a lot of viscera. And there was a part of Axel that really didn't like himself afterwards. He's starting to enjoy it. It didn't take him much time afterwards, upon reflection, to realize why. It was that slip of control, it was that goading of that thing inside. He checks his phone and goes to contacts. His thumb hovers above a few names. And he thinks about what he said to Howard. He says that we're family. We take care of each other. We look out for one another. If there's anything you can rely on, it's family. And with that, it's quite easy to choose who it is that he needs to get a hold of this night. Hopefully he's available, as he presses the name Stefan Braunfiedler. puts the phone up to his ear. Just whispers a prayer inside his own head that Stefan will pick up.
Takes a couple moments. Stefan sees the caller ID go off on the front screen of his small phone. Flips it open at the moment that the cab pulls up, and he gets inside and answers. Hello? What can I do for you?
Hey, Stefan. Glad to hear you. I'm doing okay for the most part. I need some insight, and I just need to get out of my own head right now. And I figured, since you're the guy who's walked the block more than once, you might be able to help me out. Just get my head sorted, because right now I have to focus on other people in order to stop it, and I don't want that to be the case right now. And, well, I don't know. It just seemed appropriate.
Yeah, I am. Well, I'm a little late for work at the moment, but I'm going to be heading there right now. If you can get to the Plimpton Diner, I will have the cab head there, pick you up, and then head off to the last resort, and we can talk for a little bit there. He kind of places his hand over the transmitter. Yeah. Plimpton Diner, please. Yeah. Thank you. Picking someone up. Thank you. Yeah. The cab is heading there right now. If you can get there, then we will go from the Plimpton Diner to the last resort in the industrial district.
Yeah. Okay, it's a little bit of a jog, but I can do it. Yeah, I'll get running. Thank you, Steph.
Good. I will see you in about 15-20.
Axel hangs up. And when Axel puts it in his pocket, he doesn't even stop to think. He just thinks, Plimpton Diner. Yeah, he knows the place. And he just starts running. It almost seems like he's practicing speed running. He's just going. Never really stopped to consider how much easier it is when you're not trying to intake air just to keep your muscles going. He just goes. It's almost rhythmic, each footstep hitting the ground. Occasionally, you can actually hear that sound of rubber hitting wet concrete. When did it start raining?
Make stamina athletics real quick.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's a one success, but it's a high degree. So, yeah, you actually pick up a good little, not a full run, but a nice little power jog. That way, you keep yourself from slipping on the wet ground.
Yeah. Axel's takes considerably less time than he expected. Probably another limitation of mortal thinking when he finally ends up getting to the Plimpton Diner, he just feels the weight of this bag currently over his shoulder. Had to pick up a few things, but hasn't had time to get dressed. Currently standing in the rain in blue jeans and old black t-shirt with one of those old funny sayings from the 90s. Just feels really out of place outside of his usual attire.
About the moment that you approach the Plimpton Diner, you see a cab pull up about in front of the door, and you see the back passenger door of the cab open right as you get in front of the door to the diner.
Axel quickly slips in to get out of the rain, closing the door heavy. He just kind of relaxes for a minute and then he double checks, starts looking around a bit, and watches Stefan for a minute.
Good evening. Stefan looks at the cab driver. The last resort, if you would. And the cab driver heads off, makes a U-turn and goes back up through downtown. As the driver makes his way through back up to the downtown district and enters it with a bit of haste, safe haste, he begins to take a few shortcuts, so that he's not going the long way. A lot of customers tonight, a lot of people to drive from here to there. Can't spend too much time with one or two patrons. And about 25 minutes is what it takes. And the cab pulls up across the street from the last resort. As Stefan gets out on the street side of the cab, walking around to the front, paying the driver, and giving him a $10 tip. Thank you, my good man, for your patience.
Axel ends up leaving the car and doesn't really say much. He just starts looking at his wallet, pulls out a small amount of, or a couple of bills, and just...
No, Axel. It is fine.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm just wanting to pay my due.
No. You pay your dues just about every night of your life. You should take a break once in a while. As the cab drives, Stefan walks around the front, and as soon as he's back up on the sidewalk across the street from the bar, the cab driver pulls straight off and makes the first left turn on the adjoining street. So there was a little something you wish to discuss.
I came to a very unsettling realization, particular evening, that I just For reasons I can't even explain, I can't go into much detail. Suffice it to say, the night required a large amount of effort and it got heated. And I managed to keep it under wraps for the most part, but there's a few less troublemakers in the woodwork.
This is not about the incident at the cemetery.
No, though it may tie in. See, that that I can understand because at least then it's how do I put this? It's something that just happened, but all parties were walked away. It's no bad blood. It's a lot of understanding and patience. This
How
was a
is
case of
it? I do apologize. Sorry. I get ahead of myself on occasion. How is it that this ties in with the incident at the cemetery?
because the incident at the cemetery isn't the thing that bugs me. It's a slip. Okay, it happens. I did what I could to keep things under wraps, made sure it didn't spill out, talked to the right people, got a hold of the right people,
Yeah.
managed to keep it under wraps. It's the best I could do. I cannot expect any more of myself than what I'm capable of, and given circumstances, things could have been a lot worse, and they didn't because I made decisions and put things in place in case that happened. So, despite on how it may have happened, all
Nobody
things
is blaming neither you nor Mutt for
no,
what happened at the cemetery.
no. But this incident, I didn't lose control. I, for lack of a better term, was defending myself.
Hmm.
But I got into it. You know, I had to be a little rough when I was, you know, working in places like this. It was a nice place. But this was something more. This was something a little bit more vicious. And I, he leans in a little closer. I had to kill a few people. And if that wasn't bad enough, I almost forgot that ever since I was taken in by the family, I can be real good at it.
And for this, you worked with our mutual acquaintance, Ruben Mutt, I am assuming.
You heard about something?
No, lucky guess.
I need to learn to keep my mouth shut, apparently.
No.
I appreciate the lesson.
It is natural to assume that something that you involve yourself in, which is quite a difficult trial, you would call on a Bruja for assistance. And that is about all that I can guess. The details further don't really matter.
No.
What does matter is you were not seen by mortal authorities. I'm assuming there were police involvement sometime during that night.
Yeah. They didn't catch us. They didn't see us. The issue, Stefan, I. It's a case of I know Gideon's words. I listen to them. I take them to heart as best I can, but it doesn't sit right. I want to say I'm not a killer, but then I'd be lying because evidence is quite to the contrary. And I didn't take this responsibility just to start cutting people in half, strangling them, putting them into glass, and doing a whole bunch of shit that seemed like a good idea at the fucking time. And now I'm at a point where I have to wonder, because I had to, earlier on tonight, I ended up running into Howard, of all people.
No.
Howard was having a bad night, and it was fine when I was focusing on him. But then I had to admit to him, when I realized that he never really understood what it's like to lose control, to lose it to the beast surround. He never had to end up doing it. For me, it's becoming a fucking way of life. And I'm scared. How many more people am I gonna hurt? How many more people am I gonna put in the ground?
Without trying to justify this, because I have dealt with quite recently more incidents where I have felt remorse. First it was the young woman that we took to the docks. Most recently it was a little bit of social hunting. So I'm going to avoid the justification, but it was a matter of life and death. Yeah. You did what you had to do, and Mutt did what he had to do. You managed to keep everything kosher as far as not revealing yourself, your presence to whatever mortal authorities, and I am assuming that you were probably doing something for somebody that you know. It probably involved quite a few people from the sounds of it. If your recounting on the body count is correct, it was at least, 5, 6 people? It doesn't matter the numbers. If it is close, it is close. But does this tie into Mutt at all? Because I am going to be calling Lacey tonight. I'm going to be having a private meeting with her to discuss the thing about the cemetery. Is there anything else that I should fill her in about?
No. This is something that requires a lot of discretion. Mutt has agreed to that discretion, as far as I understand it, but it is Mutt. He's the muscle, not the brains. Not to discredit him. It's just loyal soldier.
Is Mutt okay after this incident?
Mutt's a little on the rough side. I made sure he got out. I don't abandon the people who are out to help me out. You know me better than that. Hell, you probably know me better than most in this city. But even because they were coming after, I, Stefan, I can't just write them off as a statistic. I felt intestines on my hands. I felt a man's face get peeled off with glass. I felt when metal hit bone and got caught right in. I pulled a weapon out of someone's jugular.
With all this description, the expression on Stefan's face goes very, very straight, very emotionless, very matter of fact. But his voice is not monotone or deadpan. It's, I suppose what is done is done. But this is a matter that requires careful interclan politicking in order to keep the relative peace with the brew and everyone else. So you have my word that I'm not going to mention anything about Mutt being in more of a rough states than he was after the night in the cemetery.
I'll look into him. Make sure everything's on the up and up. If he gets a couple of good feedings and one night away, no one will know.
I think, even though I hate to say this, it would be best if while he is recuperating, you offer him haven as you did, much like you did after the cemetery incident, until he is completely 100%. Now, I know that is Gideon's haven, but I don't believe Gideon would disagree. Then it's a matter of keeping clan relations on the state and narrow, on the steady.
That's the thing, like, I know that if this gets out of hand, hell, even if it's just what happened in the cemetery gets a little out of hand, it gets ugly. But I can't stop seeing them, Stefan. I can't. I have to double check. I was walking with Howard, and we walked by a party. A lot of loud music. And when I looked, all I could see were the bodies. And I had to keep it together and just focus on Howard, but it's becoming prevalent. I keep seeing it, hearing it.
I will do what I can to keep the situation steady.
I just wish that it was me talking to Lacey.
As I said, I technically owe it to her to. I owe her quite a lot of social dues. Every single interaction with her has not been too smooth. and I owe her a steady and smooth conversation about these events. It's absolutely fine. You have quite a lot on your plate. This small action is no issue for me to deal with. Call it a civic duty, if you will. But I should really be heading in. I'm sure Dave is getting quite a bit antsy, as it is 30
Want me to
minutes
deal with
past.
them?
No, no. Dave is quite fine. As long as I make it up to him with a few tips from the night, he is always okay. We have an interesting rapport. But I will definitely be in touch. And you also have my words that nothing out of hand will happen as a result of my talking with Lacey. Things will remain smooth. Things will even be smoother than they have been recently.
I would appreciate it if you kept it that way, Stefan. I would appreciate if just once something would go right. Been a while since I talked to her, and I tried getting a hold of her, but I don't know. She hasn't filled me in. I feel kind of out of the loop.
I may be able to ask a few questions. Is there one pertinent question that you would like me to ask?
I need to know if she's going to be okay. No, it's presumptuous, but given our history together, it seems like an inevitable one. And I think it conveys everything that I need to say.
I will definitely pass this along. And with that, Stefan makes a very matter of fact 180, crosses the street that is not busy at all at this time of night in this area, and heads into the bar for his shift.
Axel, at this point, stands out in the rain. Yeah, he's going to have a long conversation. There's somebody else he needs to end up calling tonight. Didn't figure he'd be doing this kind of legwork.